Good evening, Broncos country. Let's give it a minute for the stream to breathe. Let's make sure we have all of our platforms included. We want to make this an all inclusive platform. All right. Looks like I see green check marks all across. Again, welcoming everyone to another installment of the Orange and Blue View on the eve of Super Bowl 58. I am one of your co hosts here, Ron White. My partner in crime on that side is Dylan Varnox. How are you doing today, Dylan?
Doing great. Just happy to be podcasting with you for another night, and definitely anxious for the game tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I know we were talking in the room before we went live, and it should be an exciting matchup tomorrow. Again, this will be the second time that these teams have faced off in the Super Bowl, and again, as Broncos fans, everyone's expecting or wanting a different outcome this time, and again, we we hope we can get that. So, but again, it should be an interesting game tomorrow. Let's see who we have here in the chat. Coming in, Kevin Great. Thank you, sir, for coming in. He says, "Good evening, Thomas Dillon. Well, no Thomas, but me, Dylan, and Scott. Big Mile High salute to Broncos country. Denver Broncos for life. Hashtag and Buckham." Again, Kevin, thank you for coming in tonight. We appreciate you, my man. And then we got Michael Davis coming in with the aloha. Denver Broncos fam. Hello to you as well, Michael. Thank you for tuning in. And let's see who else we have coming in the chat on this lovely Saturday. We got the Papa Bear. David McGilrath coming in. Thank you, sir. He says, "Good evening, Ron, Dylan, and Deacon Scott." He's on the McCarthy bandwagon. Hashtag McCarthy. Hashtag Buckham times 3. Hashtag MHH for life. Hashtag Denver Broncos for life. Again, David, you show support day in and day out. And I just want to say thank you again for coming in. So, yeah, the McCarthy. We'll definitely be getting to McCarthy because I know there was one thing out there as it pertains to Jim Harbaugh and the McCarthy train. But we'll get into some more of the quarterback talk here as we move forward. Let's see who else we have coming in here. All right, let's see. Got Ernie Mays coming in. Thank you, Ernie. Oh man, he says, "Hello, Ron and Dylan. Go Broncos country only." Yes, that's the only fan base that matters. And again, we hope that the 49ers can make our weekend even better tomorrow. But again, Ernie, thank you for coming and we appreciate you. We got Roy coming in from Facebook, Roy Osborne. Thank you, Roy. He says, "Hey there, Ron and Dylan. Hope you're having a good Super Bowl weekend." Yes, so far so good, Roy. Again, as I just said, it'll be even better depending on that result tomorrow. But I would say pretty good weekend. It was fun, and I don't know your thoughts on this, Dylan, but it was fun to watch, all the media coverage this week, as it pertains to, of course, the big game. Obviously, other teams were there as well, and we'll get into what one member of the Denver Broncos had to say and how he feels about this matchup. But I guess, what are your thoughts with this weekend leading up to the big game tomorrow?
It's really exciting. It's cool to see that it's not just Niners and Chiefs media. You kind of get a nice mix of everything. Whether it's predictions or maybe you get some answers on speculations and whatnot, especially from your head coach. But yeah, overall, it's been really nice.
Yeah, I will say it was nice. And speaking of one of the tidbits that has transpired in Vegas over the past week, one of the Denver Broncos players feels some type of way as it pertains to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl yet again. So Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton made an appearance. I believe it was on Radio Row. And they asked the question how about how he feels, kind of what the outlook is for the team and how you feel about the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And I quote, "I think this weekend pisses off a lot of us, knowing that the Chiefs made it this far. We know that we can beat them. So it's kind of like that. All right, let's use this now as motivation for the off season and see where it goes." And then he goes on to say, and I'll paraphrase some of the rest of this here, Dylan, and for everyone in the chat. But um, I think the biggest thing for him was, and the team, is learning how to win. That was something that in previous regimes, previous seasons, they weren't accustomed to. They didn't know how to. So just learning to not only play the football game, but ways to actually come out on top. Because as we all know, it's very hard to win in the NFL. And when you don't make those crucial mistakes, you can kind of build upon that in the off season and moving on into next season. So I think we're all in agreement. I think that's our first emotion, that we are pissed off. As a Broncos fan base, seeing the Chiefs, make their fourth appearance in the past 5 years, it is, it really just annoys. It annoys you. And it's even more frustrating, Dylan, that the Broncos have gotten that streak off their back, and they beat the Chiefs this year handedly in that second meeting at home. So I think that's even more of a reason to kind of get frustrated and to voice that. But again, I think we're all in agreement with Alex Singleton, and I also agree that given all that needs to be figured out with the Broncos, obviously quarterback is the biggest, filling out that roster. I would say that that big reason for the motivation, as I alluded to, that second meeting, that second matchup helped. Also, the coaching is better in Denver. Now with Sean Payton under the helm, with that coaching, that helped the Broncos learn how to win. And then the win total did increase, right? I think it increased by 3 from 5 the previous year to 8.
Yep.
So again, there are some positives to take away from this past season, but it still kind of strikes a nerve that your division rival is yet again in the big game.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating. And before the Chiefs' reign of dominance, I especially hated the Raiders the most in the division, especially living just outside of the Bay Area.
Mhm.
But yeah, they've definitely swayed that over the past 5-6 seasons now. It feels like even longer. But yeah, it's not fun when you have this bully in the division. And that's definitely what they've been. And we finally got that win this season, like you said, pretty handily. But gosh, and no one in this division could take advantage of the Chiefs when they were at their weakest, and they still made it to the Super Bowl. It's very frustrating for sure. And yeah, definitely echo Singleton's sentiments there. With it pisses me off. I can't relax and watch a Super Bowl. It has to have some level of anxiety in there.
Yeah, and not only just in the division. I mean, of course, we would have loved to dethrone them and win the, Broncos would have loved to win the AFC West, but in the conference, you had Buffalo. Buffalo had the opportunity to dethrone them. The Baltimore Ravens had the opportunity to dethrone them, and that didn't happen. So again, it just kind of goes to show you that with a less than stellar roster that the Chiefs have, number 15 always comes to play and always shows out. And speaking of showing out, for tomorrow's game, you can show out with some Little Caesars. So Little Caesars is the official pizza sponsor of the NFL. Um, those football fans love a great game and a great deal. So we're tossing out a challenge and calling it Pick Six for Slices and Sticks. If there's a pick six during tomorrow's game, fans who accepted the challenge on our app will get a free slices and sticks. Period.
We've partnered with NFL legend Derek Brooks of the Tampa Bay Bucks because he knows all about the pick six, having returned one during Super Bowl 37 against those pesky Raiders. That play led to a 44-yard touchdown and a win for the Buccaneers. So accept the challenge today and win some pizza.
Yes. Yes. All right. Let's go back to the chat here. I want to grab William Catalano. Thank you for coming in, William. He says, I think McCarthy or Knicks would be decent for us. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at one of those two, William. But again, not for me, not at 12. I think it's where you pick them, because with the Broncos, if they did decide to, look at McCarthy or Knicks and they're pretty high up on their board, you can trade back several spots, pick up more draft capital, and land one of these two. Now, as far as fit, I would say Knicks is probably the better fit, at least from what I've seen, for a Sean Payton-led offense. McCarthy, it's so hard to evaluate him, William and Dylan. And, from what I've seen so far, he's a capable quarterback. And that the stock is going to rise after the Wolverines national championship. So, I see good things from McCarthy. He's able to escape the pressure. He can attack the middle of the field, but I haven't seen a lot of those. He hasn't thrown. They have Michigan and ask him to throw frequently. So it's really hard to evaluate how he can process things. But again, with under the tutelage of Sean Payton, that's something that he'll have to develop, and that's something that he can definitely excel at possibly in the future. But I think if we're looking at it now from an evaluation perspective, William, I see Knicks as, out of these two options, as the guy. But again, it would have to be in a trade back to pick up more picks, and then you can grab a Knicks. What do you say, Dylan?
Yeah, I agree with you. Knicks is probably the better option, especially for Sean Payton. He talked about this weekend how the number one trait he looks for is processing.
Yep.
And Knicks definitely is stronger in that area. McCarthy has some great tools. He got a big arm, and he wasn't throwing too much, even in the championship game.
Yep.
Very limited throws there, but when he was asked to throw, he made some pretty remarkable ones. And I believe he's 20 or about to turn 21. He's very young. But you see the media really falling in love with JJ McCarthy for the next week or so, because typically the media, once they catch up kind of to where the league is on how they feel about a player, they kind of overdo it, and they're like, okay, this guy's going top 8, and we kind of saw that last year with Will Levis, where the media tried to convince us that he was a first round talent. And, he's a talented guy, but they were talking, I think, maybe top 10. And just, got to keep that media cycle rolling. So, you never know. It's hard to say. But I definitely agree. Taking them at it's where you take them is the big question. And if they're worth it at 12, and me personally, no.
Yeah. All right, let's see who else we have in the chat. We got David Yunkin coming in with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, David, for your support and coming in. Much appreciated, my man. He says, which QB would you want in a 2-minute warning? Or I guess 2-minute off drill. JJ McCarthy, Nix, or Penix? If the game is on the line. Ooh, that's an interesting question, David. Um
Hmm.
I, hmm. I now you kind of have me pause and trying to think. I think if from what I've seen, and again, I think with this answer, everything around him has to be perfect or close to it. But the answer to the question here, with given that everything is perfect, I'm going to go with Penix. Um, just because of the accuracy of those deep balls, David. I've seen him, you know, he can elude and evade the pressure when needed and just still look down the field and throw an accurate pass. And I think accuracy is definitely one of the traits that, there's other things I know Sean Payton's looking for. He mentioned the quick processing. I also believe that Penix can quickly process as well. So I would say game on the line because of the traits, the good decision making, the quick processing, the accuracy of the ball placement. I would take Penix in a 2-minute drill. What say you?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. As long as you can guarantee that his ACL is not going to disintegrate, I'm I'm taking Penix. Obviously exaggerating there a little bit, but yeah, like you said, his accuracy is what is a big part of his game, and that deep ball, those can be clutch in 2-minute drills. Um, but yeah, I like. I would maybe say JJ, but again, haven't seen him in too many situations where he's had to, come in a 2-minute
To
drill and
deliver.
go win a game. And it's usually been on his running backs. He's got a lead. So, yeah, I agree. I think Penix would probably be the guy in that spot.
Yep. Yep. Let's see here. And we got Kathy. I'm going to butcher your name here. I'm sorry. From Middle. Thank you, Kathy. Coming from Germany. Good morning from Germany, y'all. New name for me. Thank you. Do we take a QB round one? I'll let you take that one first, Dylan. What do you think on the QB round one scenario?
Man, I think the earliest, at least for me, it's hard to say, but I would maybe mid to late 20s, assuming we trade back, because 12 is just too rich for me. I think these second tier guys, the Knicks, the Penix, the McCarthy, gosh, I just don't see them as day one talents. Like I haven't seen enough for them to convince me of that. Like you talk about quarterbacks and how they're winners, like JJ, like winning's a team thing,
Yep.
and he's got some tools. But like I said before, he's young. I'm not sure exactly how well he processes, and just I don't see truly special with those three guys. There's some things that I do really like, but there's nothing truly special like a Caleb Williams, a Drake May, Jaden Daniels. So to take one at towards the end of the first round, that'd probably be where I would be comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dylan. It just Kathy, it really just does depend on who, if the Broncos are in love with, you know, who they're in love with. And again, I know Peyton mentioned that, after the Super Bowl on Monday, they'll start with, kind of QB discussions with Russell Wilson, kind of turning more into the draft analysis and such. But I really, and again, this is my take that I really think they're going to be in love with those top three, and you could see as what they've been saying here, Sean likes moving up, not back. They're going to have to move up to get their guy. It's just going to be a matter of who's there, picking where, what's the compensation to move up. But I would say, Kathy, I'd say yes. I do think that a QB is going to be selected in the first round. It's just a matter of where. It's those top three. You got to get into the top 10. Moving back to the later part of round one to grab your McCarthy or your Knicks. I can see that happening as well. But I'm going to go out and say that the QB will be selected in round one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see who we got here. Got Michael Davis. Yes, want to call this out. Thank you, Michael, for coming in with this. He says, congrats to Randy Gradishaw, Hall of Famer. Much deserved. Well overdue. Yes. It was so great to see Gradishaw's election into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Thursday night. Just what he was able to do in the late 70s and 80s with that Orange Crush defense for the Denver Broncos. He was the heart and soul. He led that with Tom Jackson in that era. And, just seeing him finally get in. I know he was a finalist, I believe it was 4 times. And he played with the Broncos for 10 years. You could always count on him. He was very dependable. 7-time Pro Bowler, 5-time nodded the NFL Defensive Player of the Year in the late 70s. So just what an honor, and I'm so happy that he was finally elected. Yep, definitely much deserved and well overdue.
Yeah, he was an amazing player, especially for his time, and it's hopefully only a matter of time before we see more members of that Orange Crush defense entering the Hall. What I'm excited for next year, I saw that was Demaryius Thomas.
Yep,
is eligible, which is awesome. He's my favorite player ever since I've been watching.
Yeah, DT has some special years in Denver. Yeah, so all righty, let's see who else we have here. Not only that though, it's I guess going back to the Hall of Fame, get Mike Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for him. It's Tom Nalen, right? There are a few out there that as Broncos fans, we're pining that they can get in at some point. But I say Mike Shanahan for sure is well overdue, and his time should be coming here soon.
Oh, definitely, especially with how much you hear commentators and announcers and whatnot saying like, "Oh, this run offense was inspired by the Shanahan system, like the zone blocking scheme," and it's like, hey, yeah, maybe just put that guy in the Hall already.
Put him.
He should be there already. Yeah,
spend time. Time's ticking.
Definitely.
All righty, let's see who else we got. We got Phil McLaughlin coming in. Thank you, Phil, from Facebook. He says, good evening, Ron and Dylan. I'm thinking that most of the information we are hearing from Payton is political. Talks forever and never really tells us anything. Laugh out loud. Hashtag Buckham. Hashtag Go 49ers. Hashtag Broncos for life. Yeah, Phil, it's a lot of... you can say that with every head coach. A lot of things they say, it's coach speak. It's coach speak. They give us, I call it a bunch of nothing. When it comes to these interviews, they have these long drawn out responses that's kind of circling, what the answer should be and not really getting to the answer. But yeah, I would say his time there, I believe it was on the Mad Dog show. I think he's also on Kate Adams.
Yep.
And with Radio Row, you can tell. But I think it was a bunch of nothing, but I still think there was something to take away from what he said, in the sense that, when putting everything together, he's looking for his guy. And the marriage with him and Russ just didn't pan out. Um, you know, he mentioned what he's looking for in a quarterback, the quick processing. So maybe to make those quick decisions on the field. Even I think with the Kate Adams show, he's looking for his guy. He's looking to fall in love with someone in the draft. So again, needless to say, it was not a lot he said. He kind of went around some of these questions, but I think Broncos fans were able to take home what the message was, and that quarterback is very high. It's a high priority for the Denver Broncos, and it should be. It should be. So, what do you think they're doing?
Yeah, he dances around a lot of stuff, and and like you were saying, that's just coaches in general. I think we as Broncos fans and analysts, we're so close to the product and the Broncos and Sean Payton that we think it's just him. He's the only one who talks like this, maybe, and but he did have some good nuggets in there. I think, especially when it pertains to Russell Wilson, you could tell that's done. Any rumors of him coming back, or maybe hopes and dreams of fans of him maybe working out anyway, it's not going to happen, folks. I'm willing to bet on that. It's not looking good for him. He'll be on another team this next season, but yeah, overall, some solid talking points. He also about falling in love with a quarterback. Like, that's another thing you have to think about with these second tier guys. It's like, oh, potential. He has this, that, whatever traits and skills. But at the end of the day, Sean Payton has to love them.
Right.
So maybe we need a quarterback, but are we going to take this one over maybe a defensive end that we need, or another offensive lineman? It's just really what Sean Payton believes he's looking for in a quarterback.
Yes, definitely. All righty, let's see who else we have coming in. I'm gonna grab this from Rodney Garcia. Thank you, Rodney, for coming in. He says, or he asks, do you guys see Jerry Jeudy on the trade block during the draft? Potentially, I do. It's now what you're going to get for him. I get that's another question. I don't see Jeudy garnering any more than maybe a third or fourth round pick. But if the Broncos want to, do some maneuvering, move back into the third round, or they see someone they like and they see a trade partner, then maybe can throw Jeudy in there as well in the package. I can see that. Or package in, again, to my point of he's not much. I think if to go move up in the first round, of course, there's going to be Patrick Surtain included as that player, and you maybe can see one or two other players with draft compensation in that package. But yeah, is he on the trade block for the draft? Certainly. I don't think that there are quite a few players here, Rodney, that I think that the Broncos can consider being on that trade block. Again, the cap situation for Denver is just it's not good, and they're going to look to, again, if not restructure a lot of these players, looking to move them.
Yeah, he's definitely on the trade block. I think that's been pretty apparent throughout this season. Obviously, he didn't get traded at the deadline, which turned out to be kind of a mistake because he didn't do much down the stretch, and his value was probably highest at the deadline. But if he's not traded when the new league year starts, he's definitely getting moved at the draft, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be the first round. I mean, you could even get into the day two, like the second and third rounds, and maybe you want to move up for a guy then, and someone's willing to take him, so you can pull the trigger and move up for, hey, maybe one of those second tier quarterbacks if they're floating around day two.
Yeah. Most definitely. We got David Yonkin in here with the 199 saying, sorry, guys. Not sure what you're sorry for there, David, but thank you. Thank you for coming back in. Just want to make sure I show the car. I appreciate you coming. Again, you've been great coming in with questions and conversations. So again, thank you, David. No need to apologize, my friend.
You are forgiven.
Right. Yeah,
For
if you think
whatever
you've
it
done
was.
anything, it's already forgotten. So it's all good. All right, let's see who else we have. We got Mike Edel coming in with a $10 super chat. Thank you, my man, for your generosity. Much appreciated. He says, good evening, Ron, Dylan, and Scott. Unfortunately, no Scott tonight, but send him your regards. I'm doing my voodoo dance tonight to curse KC. LOL. Don't like the idea of taking JJ with his former coach in our division. Thoughts? Mike, this was actually a thought of mine. I'm so glad you brought this up. I actually have it in the back of my mind of I'm not wanting the Broncos to select JJ McCarthy just because with those matchups against the Chargers, the head coach there already knows him and they can game plan for him. And that is a fear of mine. Now again, obviously we know it's early. There's still a lot of work to do and evaluation to do for the Broncos, but I don't want that either. But again, I honestly, Dylan and Mike, I just don't see. I just don't see JJ McCarthy as a Denver Bronco. I don't see it. I really do think if it's not one of those top three, and then I think Knicks will probably be the fourth. And then, dare I say, they may even have Penix before McCarthy. So that's just how, again, I'm not saying this is fact. Again, there's still a lot of work to do, but that's just how I see the board and how I see Denver maybe looking at the quarterbacks. But yeah, your point there is well taken there, Mike. What are your thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah, I think it'll depend on the team, but it's going to be between Knicks and McCarthy being that fourth quarterback taken. It's just because there's going to be some guy who thinks, oh, I like McCarthy's tools. I can turn him into something. And they'll like Knicks for his pro readiness. And yeah, I think I can't remember what day it was, but Harbaugh was endorsing JJ pretty hard, saying he'd be the first quarterback taken.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, what's he going to say? You got to go to bat for your guy.
Right.
But maybe, tinfoil hat theory. He's like, hey, Broncos, you might have to trade up to go get him. So trying to get us to waste some draft capital to move up to maybe 8 or something for him. But that's just some conspiracy stuff.
Yeah. All righty. Good. Thank you, Mike, again for coming in. Let's see who else we have in the chat. All righty. Let's see. Oh, we got String Guy coming in. Thank you, String Guy. He says, I don't know, Ron. I see Atlanta taking Knicks or JJ at 8 if they don't trade up. Potentially. They could. Yeah, Atlanta's definitely in the quarterback market. Again, and then Atlanta could also be a home for Justin Fields. So if that happens, Chicago stays put at 1 to draft the Caleb Williams, ship Fields to Atlanta, and then Atlanta may not have that need for a quarterback with Fields there. So again, String Guy, but I do see what you're saying. If Atlanta is not on the hook to kind of get Fields, they can definitely stay put, get the Knicks, get Penix, or even get JJ, depending on who they fall in love with. But we'll just have to see what happens there in free agency and leading up to the draft. What do you think they're doing?
Yeah, Atlanta could go quarterback for sure. It's just, again, with those second tier guys, I don't know. they'd have to be comfortable taking them at 8.
At 8, yeah.
And it's I don't know. I mean, they do have a lot of weapons in place. I think their offensive line could use a little work, but
Yes,
you
again.
got that Drake London, Kyle Pitts, even though he's been a little rough, but I think that's more maybe inconsistent quarterback play, and Bijan Robinson as well. That guy's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just don't know if Atlanta takes one at 8. I just can't see it unless there's some unforeseen rise after the combine or pro days or whatever. But
or if one falls, right? If they can't find, let's say they don't want to trade with Denver or someone else, and if the Jaden Daniels or the Drake May, if you see someone fall, and Atlanta's sitting pretty there at 8, Atlanta could take Jaden Daniels or Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
So again, but I see your point, String Guy. Again, there's a lot of different scenarios, as it pertains to QB for definitely the Falcons and for the Denver Broncos. So we'll just have to see. And we got Ernie Mays coming in with his quarterback wish. Thank you. He says, I want Drake May as our quarterback. Yeah. So, Dylan, have you seen those reports that they're pertaining to if any of the top 3 were to fall, it would be, or, I think people were saying it could be Drake May.
I have seen those.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts there? Because I think for me, and again, thank you, Ernie, for coming in. I see it a few different ways. I think the whole notion of the North Carolina quarterback is coming into play. Recency bias, obviously with the Commanders taking Sam Howell, and how he's played this year, I think kind of factors into some of this. I think also, some of his, I guess, traits, characteristics aren't good. At least some of the tape that's there, it may not wow you. But again, I'm with Ernie here in the sense that, well, I want Williams, but I think Drake May would be my next guy, Ernie. Let me just make it clear. But what I've seen is so contrary to kind of what has been stated as far as how he can process information. Again, what I've seen on the field from Drake May, quick processor, can maneuver inside the pocket, escape the pressure, can throw on the run, can run it and take off when needed. And, a lot of the things around him, I think his 2022 season was better than his last year, but the last year was nothing to cry at all. It was still a good season for him last year. So I would say for me, Ernie, I'm a big Drake May guy. I think when it comes to what Sean Payton stated this week in Vegas, I think Drake May is that guy. Drake May is the prototypical guy for Sean Payton to have execute this offense. What say you there?
I think a lot of the rumors that came out about Drake falling, I think it's prospect fatigue. He's been touted as the second quarterback to go, or second overall pick, whatever. And as we go along and he's still sitting in that number 2 to 3 conversation, people they get bored and they start to maybe nitpick and look for things that maybe aren't there.
Yeah.
Because he's, like you said, an excellent processor. He's got an amazing arm and his mobility within the pocket. I just don't understand that the people who they want to scout the helmet, or you have to scout the helmet, twisting my words up. Do not scout the helmet, scout the player. Because obviously you have your Mitchell Trubisky's and your Sam Howells, but this kid's different. Even back when Trubisky was getting drafted, I didn't really think much of him, but Drake May is not the quarterback that those two were, and I don't know. Yeah, I just think it's prospect fatigue. People just getting bored and seeing like, oh well, does he really deserve this number 2 status, or even you even see people having 1 or 2, or it's within the top 3. And yeah, there's just people looking for things I think that aren't there.
Yeah, those media guys, you just what you gonna do.
Mm.
Alrighty, let's see who else we have coming in the chat. We got David Yonkin coming in. It was about the apology earlier. Okay, it was about who would you take as the QB. Okay, gotcha. All right, let's see here. We got the boss man coming in. Mr. Jensen, thank you, sir, for the $100 super chat. He says, we don't ever want anybody from our division winning anything. That is the truth, sir. Sean Payton, lose, Chiefs. We cannot countenance KC grabbing its 4th Lombardi and nosing ahead of the Broncos. Voodoo, Sandria, Hex, Curse. Whatever it takes. I might sacrifice a goat. Yes, spoken like a true lifelong Denver Broncos fan. Yes, you're right, boss man. We won't accept a Chiefs victory. It cannot happen. It just cannot happen tomorrow. So the 49ers are going to have to stand on business and get this dub tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah, I can't stand to see another one, man. Not in my lifetime. I think I'm good. I've had a lifetime of Chiefs Super Bowl victories. I'm out on it.
Yes, and of course, a lot of them are around me, and I see so many 15 jerseys, and I'll be sporting my Broncos T-shirt, and they'll just laugh at me. I'm like, just get away from me. Like, just
yeah,
don't come near me. I just don't want. Let's not talk about anything right now.
You just think like, is this what we get for going from Elway to Manning? All the torture they had to sit through, and now they have the greatest quarterback playing the game right now. It's just,
and not only that though, Dylan, it's sacrificing the souls to win Super Bowl 50. I think that's part of it as well. Like,
yeah,
think about it. They haven't gone back to the playoffs since they hoisted the Lombardi, so it's just it's nerve-wracking. Anyway, hopefully the Broncos should get back there one day.
Someday.
All right, let's see who else we got. And again, thank you, boss man, for coming in with that. All right, got Gary Palmer coming in with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Gary. He says, "Hi, Ron and Dylan. Hello to you too, sir. Do you think Sean is okay with having another so-so season? I haven't had that impression, and I'm wondering what he has up his sleeve." Yeah, Gary, I don't think he's okay with having another so-so season. Again, leading up to the start of the season last year, he saw this Broncos team as a playoff team. And if it wasn't a playoff team, he would be angry. And, I know there are a lot of different things the Broncos have to address, to solve for. Obviously, quarterback is one. Defensive line is another. With this receiving core, even depending on what happens with Jeudy. So that there are a lot of different things that the Broncos have to consider moving forward into this offseason. But again, I think it's going to start with who's at quarterback. I think once they get that quarterback in place, once they can get the quarterback, kind of fill out the roster as much as they can, given the circumstance with the cap situation, it all's going to start there. But again, Gary, to answer your question, I don't think he's going to be okay with another so-so season. But I think depending on what happens with the quarterback situation, and again, it's going to take some time for the quarterback to kind of get adjusted to the NFL. So it may be, you know, I guess in the short term, that 1 or 2 year portion where that quarterback and his team kind of has to go through their curves, go through that building process, in a way. So, I think given that he kind of has to be, but I think once he can kind of shape this team into form and his vision, he's going to want to see playoff. He's want to see results, and he's going to see the playoff results come once this team is in the vision that he sees.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. It's will he be okay with having a so-so season? No, but I think he would understand that there's going to be some bumps in the road, especially this next season, due to the fact that Russell Wilson's contract is going to see us selling off some key players. You're not going to be able to bring in much in free agency. Just maybe some depth guys here and there.
Yeah.
So to expect playoffs next year, and I don't want to be the downer, but it's not looking great. But I think this is what we've needed for a long time. Is a true rebuild. Not maybe we can compete if we just add a piece here or here, and maybe we'll wrap it together with some duct tape and send it off, and hopefully it'll see us through to the playoffs. But and it's gonna suck because we've had 8 years of this now. But if we would have started this rebuild a little sooner, we'd be in a better spot. So the quicker we can rip this Band-Aid off and just start that rebuild, it's going to pay off.
Yes, absolutely, Dylan. I agree 100% that this rebuild should have started a year or two right after Super Bowl 50. It's the notion of we're a quarterback away, we're a piece or two here or there away. You see what situation it has led the Broncos in. So now I think, Payton's coming in, sees it for what it is. It is a team that, again, he made lemonade out of lemons with this team last year. 8-9 records, going through that winning stretch, but he sees it now where they need to start over at quarterback. They need to build out this roster to have a team that is in the playoffs, and that is a contending team. So yeah, it's been time. So that's definitely a great point. Let's see who else we have. And again, thank you, Gary, for coming in with that question. We appreciate you. All right. Let's see who else. Oh, we got Mike Edel coming back in with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Mike. He says, great show tonight, guys. Thank you, sir. Dylan, you are doing great. Yes, you are. Yeah, he is doing great.
Thanks.
Here's the plan, Broncos country. Every time the Chiefs go to kick all of us, think miss. Go Orange and Blue View. Go MHH. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, we have to. Yeah, again, just the Chiefs. All right.
Yeah, have you seen those ridiculous videos of people on either TikTok or Twitter or whatever, where they put their fan next to their TV when the opposing kicker goes to kick, and they turn it on and like, come on, blow it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we might have to come together and all do that tomorrow, right, guys?
Yes. We all have to join forces and come up with our own to throw them off. Yeah, it's right there. All righty. Let's see who else we have. Just looking through the chat. We got Hester Jefferson coming in with a comment. Thank you, Hester. He says, Spencer Rattler is the biggest sleeper in this year's draft. Hope the Broncos can draft him. Yeah, Hester. Spencer Rattler is he's an interesting prospect. I've watched him. I've watched some tape at all of his stops, and he can do a lot. He's very good. He can he can process information well. He has a very good deep ball. I would say you're right that he could be a sleeper, but I know the biggest issue is the character concerns for him. And again, I know that's why he may not be as high on a lot of people's draft boards, but I think, in my opinion, that the tools are there from what I've seen. Obviously, with some more coaching and development, um, he can definitely take that next step. But I wouldn't be mad. Dylan honestly wouldn't be mad if, let's say, the Broncos decide to go another position in round one, and if Spencer Rattler's there, day two, either in round two or round three, go get him. What's the worst that can happen? Again, there are a lot of things there that I like, that Payton can work with Rattler to maybe groom him to the quarterback that he wants.
Yeah, his arm talent is amazing. He can make every throw on the field, but like you said, it's all up here. He was kind of I know some people have watched the show on Netflix. I believe it's called QB1 that he was on, and he was kind of a spoiled little brat there. You could tell, but he was 17 years old. So, and then some of those problems went in when he was at Oklahoma. But from what I've heard, he's been humbled quite a bit after being in South Carolina. So hopefully, yeah, he's got his head on straight now, and I'd be totally fine with him taking him day two, even early day three, depending on where he goes. Quarterbacks, they generally go a little higher, but yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's always good to take a quarterback.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's just get into the chat to see if we have anything. We're at 1 minute here. Let's see. All right. See a lot of, everybody's with the chat commenting the 49ers. So, yes, guys. Oh, Pearl Heater coming in. Thank you from Facebook. Says, to me, to find another dark horse QB like Purdy. LOL. Yes, Pearl. It would be, again, if they don't go QB round one, finding, again, we just talked about Spencer Rattler. He could be that diamond in the rough for the Broncos. For day two. Maybe even like a Pratt out of Tulane could be that as well. There's some things there, although I would say between Rattler and Pratt, I'm a bigger Rattler fan because I think Rattler has a little bit more to work with. But Pratt's not bad either. But yeah, Pearl, I'm right there with you. If again it's going to go back to scouting and doing that evaluation, and if they see someone in those mid rounds that they want, go grab them.
Yeah, it'd be nice to find a Purdy so we could take all the other stuff we need and get lucky on a quarterback late. But yeah, you never know. And swinging on a quarterback in the later round, like day three, even it's not a bad bet. I mean, their draft picks are lottery tickets anyway, and if you can get one that late into the draft, and if it doesn't turn, or if the quarterback doesn't turn into something, don't really lose much. But if they do pop, they can either be starting on your team or be good enough as a trade bait.
Yeah. At the end of the day, with the later rounds, you're really just kind of throwing a dart, right? You're trying to see, if you can get someone, if this person does have the tool, that this person can stick. It won't be too big of a deal if that person doesn't. But again, there are a few in those later rounds, as we just alluded to, that I think, again, judging from what I've looked at, at the Senior Bowl and looking at some more tape, that there are a few that then that day two, day three that can maybe fall, that can be something that, again, that has some things for Sean Payton to work with, but we will see. All right, I don't see many more comments here, Dylan. So I think we can go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. And again, guys, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming in and supporting us day in, day out. This has been a great conversation, talking about all the tidbits that have led up to the Super Bowl. If you guys don't do anything, make sure you like, subscribe, and share on all of the platforms. Um, Also, make sure that you follow us um, on Twitter at Ron White NFL for me and at Dylan Von Arcs MHH. Again, ask us questions. We'll be there to provide our opinion feedback as well. All right, Dylan, do you have any last words for the community before we head on out?
Yeah, guys, thank you just for being so lovely. Again, it's great having conversation like this. You guys have been awesome in the chat, just fueling us with questions and keeping the conversation moving. We greatly appreciate it.
All right, I see. Before we go, I do see one comment. I think Phil. Hang on, let me see if. Sorry, guys, the chat kind of moved here quickly, so give me a minute. Phil said he asked a question. I think this is the one, Phil. Thank you, Phil, for that. I appreciate you. And sorry about that earlier. It says, well, guys, at pick 12, you have the following available. Who you taking? Dallas Turner, Latu, Knicks, or do we trade back? I'll let you answer that one first, Dylan.
Okay, well, on this one, I'll assume we're staying at 12. So I see Knicks is there, but as I've said before, I don't feel comfortable taking him at 12. I'm going to go with Latu. He's super explosive, got great hands, and I think he's the edge rusher that this team needs. I know he's also had some medical concerns, but he's played pretty well the last 2 seasons, I believe, at UCLA, and nothing's popped up with his neck. So I'm taking a shot on him.
Yeah, that's a good one. Latu is good. And I wouldn't be mad if if that is the pick at 12. I'm actually going to go Dallas Turner.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dallas Turner is great. Coming off the edge. Now, I will say, I think when Will Anderson was there, it was kind of hard to get him because I know Will Anderson kind of got most of the shine when at Alabama, but at least this past year, from what I've seen from Dallas Turner, I think he can make an immediate impact on this edge room for sure. But yeah, I think Dylan Latu's great. I think Latu or Turner, Phil, any edge position for sure at 12. I wouldn't be mad at the pick at all, because again that's definitely a big need on the Broncos for sure. So yeah, no trading back if that's the case. I think good edges, they're hard to come by. Broncos have been needing that elite pass rusher for a while now, ever since Vaughn left. So wouldn't want to trade back if that's the scenario.
You can never have enough pass rushers.
That is true, especially with Mahomes being in the Super Bowl every year, it seems. So all right, guys. Thank you, Phil, for coming in with that question. Much appreciated. All right, guys. Well, if there's nothing else, we will close it up. Again, I hope everyone enjoys the game tomorrow. Hoping for the 49ers victory tomorrow. And we will see you all next week. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.